Paul Richards, Richard Ragobarsingh. Ruben is in the mix. And of course, my name is Steve Khan. We'll keep you company until 9 o'clock this morning.
Yes, I know you like your country music. Good morning, Steve.
Yeah, I do like country music, you know. I do. I do like country music. I don't know what happened to any Millennium News, but it's all right.
It was my bad. I turned off the mic to clear my throat, and I thought to turn it back on, and it didn't
Oh,
turn back on.
you wasn't seeing my little gestures.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't.
Okay, all
I
right.
just thought you had a normal.
Ear
It's
infection?
I just
No,
or some kind of issue with you, you started to activate like that. But
no, you're going and just
I
went.
didn't. I didn't realize the mic was off.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. Put it on your mic there, Paulos. Quickly take a look at what's happening. It's a bit busy this morning. I will tell you that much. You got traffic this morning from Antigua Road in Wallerfield. Straight down, you got volume heading straight towards O'Mara through Mauska towards Piarco, and then it's going to get heavier just after Trinidad City towards UE, then volume straight into Port of Spain. The traffic has started. It took me a while to get in. It didn't take me my usual time. It took me double the time. Traffic again, Freeport towards the interchange, and out to the west is beginning to build. San Fernando, nothing to tell you about. Let's see who sent us hellos first thing this morning. Good morning to Ken E. First off the gate, followed by Trevor Narima, Maria Marva, Garcilian, Valencia. I'm sure you're all getting some rain. Miss Ingrid out in Tucson, Arizona. Then we had to Tampa with DJ Ray. Then Central Trinidad for Oliver Man Warren. Then Dennis somewhere on the globe. And DP somewhere in the globe. And Carol Guevara and CJ out in New York. Good morning to you. Ms. Maloney, good morning. Somebody else says happy Tuesday. All right, so yeah, happy Tuesday to you as well. Hope you guys have a great day, and thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show. Hope you guys had a great night as well. I passed out early, and then I woke up and couldn't go back to sleep. 23 degrees at Crown Point in Tobago, and it with rain, that is. And it is also 23 with rain at Piarco International Airport. What's the weather going to be like for today? That's a big question. Had flooding in Port of Spain yesterday. They had some serious flooding. Alrighty. And Met Office, they have not updated their weather. Yeah. Very inconsistent with that. But anyway, I'll let you know as soon as I get it. All right? Yeah. All right. So good morning to you, Paul. Ooh.
Good morning, Steve. Morning, everyone. Rainy night, rainy morning.
Yeah.
Rained all night, raining all morning. So
Yeah.
please be careful on the roads.
Yeah, it's a bit, with the dry weather, the roads are very slippery. So please take your time as you traverse. Yeah, the roads are very slippery. Oh my lord! I'm seeing it.
Well, there's flooding some areas too because yesterday afternoon, with a little bit of rainfall that fell,
No, that
there was
was
flooding in
plenty
South
rain.
Key, there was flooding in Cocoree, there was flooding in Diego Martin, there's flooding in some parts of Central. So I would imagine with the rain continuing all night last night into this morning that a lot of areas may have been flooded. It's interesting that the Met Office doesn't have an advisory out of some kind.
You know, I could talk about the Met Office, but it would make no sense.
Well, I don't know why, because the Met Office provides a very important function. So I
Well,
don't understand.
it's a very important, but the weather is so vague. It's quite vague. And then not to say that they don't have a Doppler radar. They do have a Doppler radar. I think the last time we spoke to the Met Office, they said they were working on it. I can't recall. It was down for a while. Well, it better be up. Rainy season is in a few months, and so is the hurricane season.
I just think that when you see this kind of weather, it might not be a yellow or red alert, but it's some kind of advisory to everybody be careful. Maybe it's out. I'll check the Met Office
You know, it's
website. I
not. I'm,
haven't
I'm
got
checking. I have it open here now. The last time it was updated was by Gary Benjamin at 5:41 yesterday afternoon.
what
Yeah,
that stuff like that I can't understand.
yeah, 5:41 yesterday afternoon.
I really can't understand stuff like that.
So they're saying no. No, let's
Because
see,
people want information on what they
and
can
that's
expect
it.
with the weather today. So
Yeah,
I really
like
don't understand
about
why.
30 to 40% chance. And you know the funny thing about it, when we get the international weather report for Trinidad and Tobago, it's accurate.
Well, one would imagine that the Met Office in Trinidad should be our primary source, but apparently not,
No,
which is unfortunate, quite frankly.
yeah.
Good morning, those of you locked on to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Amazon Live. We stream
Hmm.
between 6 and 8 a.m. Monday to Friday. Thank you for logging on. Good morning, Ray, and all of those who are piling in now.
Hmm.
Uh, I saw it was snowing in Chicago over the weekend, and I couldn't understand it. It's the end of April and snowing in Chicago, but it's Chicago, just off the lake. So,
Yeah,
and
it's some serious weird weather, man. Some serious weird weather. Um, in some international news now coming to me here, Joe Biden announces his 2024 presidential run.
no, not surprised, but
Not surprised either.
we'll see who the Republicans put up. And if he makes it through the Democratic primaries,
Yeah,
I think he'd be challenged.
he would be.
Yeah, I think he'd be challenged. And there's questions about his stability. Let me just put it that way. Sometimes I don't know, but it could be people being mischievous with videos and stuff, but he always looks kind of disoriented to me. Well, very often looks kind of disoriented. Maybe it's the videos I'm seeing.
Maybe it's the memes. The
You
famous
know,
one is when he's falling,
two
about to
big
fall down the steps.
media announcements yesterday.
Yeah.
Fox announced Tucker Carlson, their top-rated anchor,
Mm-hmm.
is out,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and this coming just days after they got that judgment, almost $1 billion judgment against them
Mm-hmm.
to pay because of misinformation, and their company suing them, and which is not unusual for Fox, quite frankly. And Don Lemon has been fired from CNN, which is not surprising to me either, because I kind of saw the writing on the wall where that is concerned. He had been kicked off his primetime night show and put in the morning with two women.
Mm-hmm.
There were reports about him being quite rude, and some people describe it as misogynistic to them. Some female staffers. He'd had he made a really bad comment about women when they're in the prime about
Yeah,
a
30s and 40s, but
candidate,
not in the political
yeah, and
prime.
not in their 50s, which is just stupid comment for a man to make. It's just
On a
I
table
mean,
with two other women.
on a table with two other women, yeah, and he just had a downward spiral. I think his arrogance got the better of him after a while. And
Mm-hmm.
he said that in a release that CNN terminated him. He was surprised by the termination. They said even Stevie Wonder could see it was coming.
Like that.
And CNN countered by putting out a release saying they reached out to him for meetings for some time now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only Don Lemon he didn't realize he's going to get canned, or he's pretending. You could have seen the writing on the wall for Don Lemon. He was one of the top, most popular anchors, him and Anderson Cooper, and they kind of ruled. But I think they lost their way when Trump was in power, and they became the far right version of Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about the hating Trump. I mean, I dislike Trump also, but I mean, to me, they lost their journalistic integrity because of the angst against Trump, and one could understand that. But I mean, try and look a little objective-ish now, you know. So
Yeah.
those are two big media news stories from two major networks. Congratulations to Curtis Williams from Trinidad and Tobago, who I hope it's accurate because I'm really happy for him, who is
Hmm.
going to be working for CNN. He's
Really?
done excellent work in Trinidad and Tobago, and there was a post that was shared, I think, by Wendell yesterday, which indicated he's taking a position at CNN. So congratulations to him. Really proud. Good work. He's done, I mean, amazing work over the years. So that's good media information coming out in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, very much so.
You know, so he joins somebody else with Trinidad. It was Abby Phillips is her name, I think. I think he had a spat with Don. She had a spat with Don Lemon also. Abby Phillips is of Trinidad and Tobago parentage. If not, no, she wasn't born here. She's of Trinidad and Tobago parentage.
Ah, okay.
And she's also one of the top anchors on CNN, doing really, really well. So, two people in the door.
Yeah, CNN has
Right?
been in some transformation
Well, they have to. They have to.
in the last couple of them.
The CNN
But
has been taking some licks. That's in my
plenty
opinion,
licks.
during Trump's era, they lost their way. And the new CEO, Chris Lett, I hope I pronounced his name right, or Lett, has been making some significant changes over at CNN. So, well, Lemon is a big thing. His ratings were really horrible. I think it's not because he's a good journalist, but he just became so unlikable. You know,
Yeah.
they always say you could be as bright as you wanted. They don't like you. They don't like you.
They don't like it, trust me.
But he became to me. He was not like that at the start. The more popular he became, to me, the more arrogant he became. But that's back at home.
Plenty going on back at home. And now getting a
Back
bunch
at
of stuff
home,
here.
Farley Augustine has told Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to mind your damn
Hmm.
business. This following Dr. Rowley's comment about his call for fresh elections in Tobago, because according to Dr. Rowley, the Prime Minister, Mr. Augustine, and his colleagues, now of the Tobago People's Party, is it TPP, do not
Tobago.
have a mandate, and the Dr. Rowley would have listed quite a number of what you call it, issues related to governance in the assembly. So he has fired back at Dr. Rowley, saying that Dr. Rowley should mind his own business. Hmm. Hmm. And well, I
Oh,
finally got to download the video that I'll share with you in a short while.
yeah.
In South Key and in on I think it's in Diego
Wrightson
Martin, if
Road.
I'm
I
not
went through
mistaken.
flooding Wrightson Road yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna share those with you in
Hmm.
a bit. Good morning to Michael Grandison and Ingrid Adams and Gloria
Yep,
Gray.
this
Gloria's
Ingrid.
in New Jersey, Ingrid is in Brooklyn, and Michael, where's Michael? Sankofa. Where's Michael usually heal us out from?
He's in Santa Margarita.
In
Saint
Santa
Augustine.
Margarita in St.
Yeah.
Augustine.
Yeah.
St. Everybody changes from Augustine not to Augustine. So,
Augustine.
you
A
know,
lot of news coming through in the last 24 hours. Republic Bank, I sent it to you, Paul. um, so you
this
wonder
is kind
you,
of a look at what happened yesterday. There's a bit of the flooding
yeah, that is where,
that we saw. I think this is maybe in Woodbrook, if I'm not mistaken. You know, that is what that looked like yesterday. With a few hours, it's a 2 hours of rain, you know.
that rain was heavy though.
Well, it was continuous. And
Yeah,
that's the thing. And it has been continuous tonight too. So,
yeah. Piti Karim.
and so people had to endure that yesterday. You know,
And then
this is another view from, I think, Peter Avenue, I think it is. It's And it just, in no time at all,
Yeah.
no time at all we saw that level of rainfall. Yeah. So, and also, Watson Duke has jumped into the fray, commenting on the Tobago situation, as he would because his main base is in Tobago.
Hmm.
Let's share that with you and you will tell us what you think.
There's a lot of talk in Tobago that the Prime Minister, that cannot be so. The Prime Minister is the Prime Minister for all of Trinidad and Tobago, whether you like him or not. And his cabinet lays the legislative agenda for the Parliament. His team has the majority, and it takes a simple majority to pass the Tobago House of Assembly Act or to nullify the Tobago House of Assembly Act. They have to be very careful how they tread on that. Tobago is its own country, Tobago has its own cabinet, etc. Tobago can't make a law, nor Tobago can vote down a law. The responsibility now lies in the hands of the Prime Minister. I think the Prime Minister is a soft Prime Minister, very loud, very aggressive. He's a fighter, but when coming to these things, he's very soft. I now wait to see what moves he's going to make to rescue Tobago from these self-serving so-called independents who have now renamed themselves Thief People Party, TPP.
Well, isn't it interesting that Watson Duke is now calling on the Prime Minister to rescue Tobago?
Hmm.
Politics in this country
Strange bedfellows, boy.
is comical sometimes.
Yeah.
So Watson Duke is calling on the Prime Minister to rescue Tobago from Fadi Augustine and his TPP. I want to repeat Mr. Duke's interpretation of what TPP stands for. But it's interesting that he's now calling on the Prime Minister to rescue Tobago. And he was, a couple months ago, before the imbroglio with Fadi Augustine and his colleagues departing the PDP, was saying that he needed to rescue Tobago from Dr. Rowley. Not so?
Correct if I do.
And now he's asking Dr. Rowley to rescue Tobago from the TPP.
Rescue me. There's a song like
That
that.
is so interesting, though, that
Yeah.
he's now asking Dr. Rowley to rescue Tobago from the TPP. Good morning, Mr. Ragobarsingh.
Hey, Rich,
Oh,
morning.
hi, good morning, guys. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to
How,
our listeners,
how's the
wherever you
weather in
are.
Reno?
Good morning to our listeners, wherever you are. What's your question now, Steve?
How's the weather in Arima?
I'm Greeny.
Yeah.
It's
Water
pretty
is
rainy.
crossing the road in a few areas on the Valencia stretch. All right. I got some flooding out in Coal Mine this morning. Um, there is an accident northbound by Chase Village on the Solo. So please take your time as you traverse. Heaviest rain in San Fernando.
Has the Met Office updated the website at all?
Let me check here now. I was not going to do that. Let's see. Oh, look, at 6:13 this morning, the Met Office decided, so you know what? We'll send out.
Thank you, Met Office.
Thank you,
Better late
Matt.
than never.
Thank you, Albert Alexander. So here's the weather for today. Partly cloudy, but becomes cloudy with periods of showers and rain over broad areas. So vague. There's a medium chance, 40 to 60%, that some of these showers could become heavy and thundery, especially near Tobago. This evening, continuing partly cloudy to cloudy with some showers, but improves as the night progresses. Broad areas, man. What the heck is broad areas?
Well, broad areas means the whole country, really. It means that they don't want to be more definitive than that.
Yeah.
Expect rain across the islands, both
Yeah.
islands.
And I'm getting word there are two things I got. I sent it to you guys this morning. One, Republic Bank has announced effective May 20th a 2.5% currency conversion charge for foreign credit card transactions.
What?
That's until you check your phone.
You need to repeat it.
Repeat that,
kind of-
please.
yeah, it's not clear.
Republic Bank has announced effective May 20th a 2.5% currency conversion charge for foreign credit card transactions will be applied.
So they're charging you 2.5% on everything that you do that's in US dollars or
Correct.
non-PT dollars.
There goes the Amazon. Ooh, let me go on Amazon. Let me use my credit card. Nope.
Is that for the entire quantum that you're trying to transact?
Yep.
2.5 on the quantum that you're trying to transact?
It would seem so, yeah.
That's
Wow.
the
That's
bank,
what I gather.
but they're the bank for you, so I guess
Yeah.
we're the bank for you.
And they also
2.5% on 1,000 is what, $25?
Yeah.
That's what that is, right?
Yes. No small amount.
So 2.5 on 10,000 is 250.
Yep.
So 2.5 on 100,000 will be 2,500. Is my math correct?
And let me send something else to you, Paul.
It'll be 25,000 if it's 100,000.
25,000.
Wouldn't maybe.
So
Let
businessmen will
me make sure I'm not making a mistake.
Mind you, Republic Bank
I went up 1-0 to everything.
No.
has made over
No.
400 million in
It'll be
first quarter.
2,500.
Yeah, but I just went up 1-0 when I moved the decimal
Yeah,
point.
2,500. Yeah.
So if you're transacting, well, I guess it's only business people transacting 100,000 US, because they have access to that. But if I taken out $1,000 US, which you ain't getting anyway, quite frankly, But is it a credit card transaction, Steve?
Yeah.
No, but and what I'm not understanding is that merchants already pay a credit transaction fee anyway.
Yeah.
But
3%
but
locally.
you're also paying a pretty high interest on your credit card
Yes.
anyway.
Yes.
So why are you're already tacking on a kind of curated additional interest on the credit card? You're just curating it a little bit more and saying,
Well,
well,
the banks, they will make money no matter what.
Yeah. Also,
but what would be the reasoning for that? Is it because of the shortage of foreign exchange? Because they're very specific. You're saying non-TT transactions. So obviously you're being very specific that it's a foreign exchange. Is it a foreign exchange issue that you're penalizing us for? Are you trying to make use of non-TT transactions? And usually when we pay, we're paying, we convert, even if it's euros or pounds, we convert it to US at the point that we're paying. So it's basically a lot of US transactions that are taking place on credit cards.
Yeah.
So is it that you're saying if you want to use US, we are penalizing you for it?
correct.
And we are penalizing you for it for what reason? To dissuade us from using US transactions?
Well, exactly. And you already pay for the credit card facility. You're paying interest on the credit card transactions sometimes, or very often. And now you're getting another charge again. The problem in this country is that nobody's coming up with an alternative to them.
No.
That they can rush out from them and do something else.
And nobody is speaking of on
I
behalf
mean,
of
an alternative to them. There are alternatives to Republic Bank.
No, not Republic Bank. I'm not talking about the bank.
Yeah, but once
So
one
when
bank
one
is
does it, the
successful,
other
generally.
Yeah.
mind you, Republic
If,
Bank.
when Republic
made-
Bank does it as a leading bank and get away with it, the other's going to say, okay, Republic Bank making 2.5%. Let's do it too.
But I don't know, is it that Republic Bank is struggling or something that they need the additional income?
Oh, they could be struggling. They made
didn't they
400 million between
Yeah, didn't they
October and
post the
December
profit
last
yesterday?
year. Profit.
If you made 400 million plus, because of course I knew this, so you're making 400 million plus in profit. Why are you tacking on that?
Because they want to make more profit.
No, it has to be a reason. So I want to believe that. But I think from a marketing point of view, they need to explain it. I don't think they should just glibly say it.
But they just send out a press release, then come and justify it. They probably don't feel they have to justify it. It's my bank, it's my service. If you want to be a part of it, this is the new rules. This is what they generally do anyway. When they increase fees for interbank transactions on ATMs and they do all, they don't give no explanation, they just do it.
You are
Effective
right.
X date,
You are very right. You are very right.
effective X date, you're gonna have to pay X more, or you're gonna have to pay this new charge. They don't explain anything to you, and you have the choice of leaving or not leaving. Thank God I have a Republic Bank credit card.
I don't know. It's annoying. I'll say that.
I mean, it's annoying, and to me,
Taking
it's unfair.
advantage of the
And
citizens.
many may consider it unfair.
You've always said it,
And
Richard.
I would say, I would go even as far as saying, in some instances, predatory business practices, because the population, they know that in most cases, people are going to move their accounts like that. We just take stuff in this country. You know that.
Yeah, that's all.
What we protest against is no carnival, a party stop, or we can't go on lime and drink. You see stuff like that, and increase in prices of basic food items that are unjustifiable, we don't protest. In the US and the UK, they raise transportation fees by 10 cents on a bus token, they stop using the bus. They raise beef or chicken by X amount, they stop using it, but not us. We have a culture, well, if you can't afford it, that's your business. You understand?
As Richard has been saying for years, nothing is easy for the citizenry.
Well, I just think that, as Richard said, as a matter of professional courtesy and marketing best practice, you should say these charges are not going to be incurred because of X, Y, and Z. And I know that charge is an automated charge. There's no extra staff doing that.
Yeah, it's not to say like I don't have a prepaid credit card, because everybody who had a prepaid credit card from Republic Bank went out the door.
I want to share something with you all that I find is astounding that we could. Did I get it up yet? Nothing. Let me rephrase that. I didn't advise it. I put it in the system yet. Wait, let me try to put this in the system first, and then I'll show you.
Foster Road in Grandy is flooded.
There's a call by the Spanish ambassador to TNT that children of migrants and refugees be allowed in the school system. And I think I wondered why even children of registered migrants are not allowed in the school system in Trinidad and Tobago. I think we discussed this last week before.
I never
That
understood
what
it.
you are doing by not allowing them in the system, because they're here 2-3 years now,
Yeah.
is you are creating problems.
Yep.
You are creating problems that are going to come back to bite us in the tail. And education is a human right. So if you have made provisions in Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm saying for registered migrants here, because the government has a facility for people to register. And you can be here with your child when you're registered. Why aren't the children allowed in school?
But I never understood that. I must admit, from the time it started, I was an advocate that it should be in school because it comes across a bit short-sighted on the part
But
of the
human
state.
education, Richard, is a human right.
Yeah.
Education is not a blight, it's a human right. So I think I agree with the call by the Spanish ambassador to TNT that the government should allow for registered migrants. You understand? Because there's a way to legalize yourself here temporarily through registration. I think they've done it twice, and then they've extended the registration time frame to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and National Security. So I think for registered migrants, their children should be allowed in the education system. I have the
I know a couple of NGOs have been trying to take up the slack, but they could only do so much.
maybe it's a question I could ask in the other place. Now let me share it with you. This interesting event. Let me give you some context before. There are people who can't take care of their children all over the world and sometimes leave their children in the doors of police stations, fire stations, in many cases, infants, babies, because they don't think that they can take care of the children. Well, a country has come up with a really innovative way. I just find it that somebody thought of this. It's astounding. Let me share it and we can come back and chat about it.
Safe Haven baby boxes. First thing that they're going to do is open the outside door. An orange bag is going to fall out with resources for the parents. They're going to place their newborn inside, shut the door, and then they're going to walk away. From the inside, you can see babies being placed inside the medical bassinet that has a heating unit inside. It's alarm activated. First responders are notified.
What?
Isn't that astounding?
Hmm.
Don't you find that astounding? That they provided a facility so that you don't leave your child on the pavement in the cold in front of the police station, the fire station, or dump the child somewhere, as we see sometimes in Trinidad and Tobago. That you can walk up to this place, put the child in this device, which is heated, and walk away, and it automatically activates, and first responders are activated to come and take care of this child. Isn't that astounding?
Yes, it is.
That somebody thought of a social phenomenon that's happening. That's not going to go away anytime soon. You know? And I provided for the safe transfer of an infant to the care of the state in that instance. When I saw that on TikTok, I just like, wow. I forget which country it is, but it's one of them Scandinavian countries. You know, they're advanced thinking.
Yeah.
Because it kind of relates to what we were talking about with children in Trinidad and Tobago and the migrants. And I don't understand how you could allow people to legally stay in your country through a registration process. And I asked this question also, and I'm going to ask it again soon. If a registered migrant or non-registered migrant has a child with a Trinidad and Tobago national, what is that child, Richard, from your legal perspective, automatically a Trinidad and Tobago national? Because one of the parents is Trinidadian and Tobagonian national, and the child is born here.
But once a child is born here,
It's a Trinidad and Tobago national.
yes.
Right. So the issue really relates to children who come with their parents and they register.
Yep.
And I think they should be allowed in the education system. I think it's atrocious and a travesty that you have people that you have allowed in your country under these circumstances, and they've taken the time to register and do the right thing. And they're here with their children, and the children are, because it's about 3 years now, just before the pandemic, not so?
Yes.
So a 3-year-old or 2-year-old will now be 5 or 6 and out of the education system. How is that fair to that child? How is that not impinging on the right of that child to an education?
Well, I think the thinking on this part of the state is that that's not their responsibility. I think that's what they're thinking.
So then why did you, as a humanitarian gesture of goodwill, which is great for the state, you allowed the parents and the family to be here in a legal form by allowing them to be registered?
Yeah. Well,
And
there's
then they will say, well,
always
in the case of Venezuelan migrants, we have no Spanish speakers in school. That's the excuse. The curriculum can't be if the child is born here, the child will learn English from a young age.
I think it connects to a lot. I think you're asking, I think the answer, it's probably a larger picture of the philosophical lens through the state, how the state sees Venezuelan migrants.
Or migrants in general.
Yeah, I think that's where the answer probably lies.
And I know people go jump out and say, we don't have resources here. That is no problem. We children not in school. I know the plethora of responses I know we can expect. There are those who are going to say, damn Venezuelans is commit the crime. You know, the usual suspects. The xenophobes, I like to call them. You understand? But I think if you have, and that's why I stressed registered migrants, because I'm not encouraging people here illegally. We have made provisions for, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 15 to 16,000 persons of the estimated 25 to 30 who are here, which I think is an underestimation, have registered with the Ministry of National Security slash Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I think it's also time to revise that policy into a more evolving policy, because particularly since Trinidad and Tobago is in deep negotiations with Venezuela on a critical energy deal, showing that we're deepening ties with Venezuela. Not so?
Yes.
So the policies to me are inconsistent. They're not aligned with each other. That's just my opinion, and I'm really advocating, because of the right to education of a child in the UN Charter of Conventions, which we are signatories to. So, just my little rant on that there. Before you came on, we were talking about Father Augustine's response to Dr. Rowley, the Prime Minister, saying, quote unquote, mind your damn business.
Okay.
And Watson Duke saying the Prime Minister needs to rescue Tobago. Watson Duke saying the Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, needs to rescue Tobago.
So did Farley actually say mind your own business?
Yeah, he went on a Facebook page, I think, under it may be on
It sounds like a very Tobagonian answer.
Yeah, mind your damn business.
Sounds like a very Tobagonian answer. That I will say.
You know, mind your damn business.
Hey.
You know what's amazing to me? I go to some functions and I see these gentlemen shaking hands in a cordial manner after they train all these barbs. You know, after they're throwing all these barbs at each other. Where Richard going? But what trouble is this? What happened there? Okay.
Yeah.
And they throw barbs at each other and then hello, you know, and if they stand each other next to each other in official functions and smile. And smile. And of course, yes, as I was saying before, Watson Duke has chimed in now and saying that the Prime Minister must rescue. Let me air it again for those who have logged on late. Rescue Tobago from Farley.
A lot of talk in Tobago that the Prime Minister, that cannot be so. The Prime Minister is the Prime Minister for all of Trinidad and Tobago, whether you like him or not. And his cabinet lays the legislative agenda for the Parliament. His team has the majority, and it takes a simple majority to pass the Tobago House of Assembly Act or to nullify the Tobago House of Assembly Act. They have to be very careful how they tread on that. Tobago is its own country, Tobago has its own cabinet, etc. Tobago can't make a law, nor Tobago can vote down a law. The responsibility now lies in the hands of the Prime Minister. I think the Prime Minister is a soft Prime Minister, very loud, very aggressive. He's a fighter, but when coming to these things, he's very soft. I now wait to see what moves he's going to make to rescue Tobago from these self-serving so-called independents who have now renamed themselves Thief People Party, TPP.
Venerable Watson Duke there, of course, jumping into the fray.
Yeah. I think the state has been very sober about how they respond to it. I know there's a political response and there is a state response.
Well, there are laws that govern these things.
Mm-hmm.
There are laws that govern the operation of the THA Act, and there are laws that govern the relationship between central government and the assembly. You understand? Dr. Roddy is also on record as saying he knows they have no legal mandate to call an election. But of course, as a politician, Dr. Roddy, given the cut skinny pay him received in the last THA election and the fact that they are down to one seat in the assembly, is going to call for an election. You understand? People who are out of power call for an election to be in power. That's what they do, just to consolidate their political position. So
there's probably a poll in there somewhere, you know, Paul. You know, not like do you think
should Dr. Roddy mind his own business?
Or, well, not
as
so
is
much.
espoused by
Not so much as should he mind his own business.
Tobago, intervene and
think,
rescue. What's Duke is suggesting is a legislative fix to this.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's where the poll probably lies. Not the mind your business. That's just normal run-of-the-mill political sword playing. But But the material issue here is: do you think the state should get involved from a legislative point of view in fixing
That's
the
a big
Tobago,
question.
is in meddling in the
Which could
THA's?
mean going to the parliament and amending the THA Act.
Yeah. Do you think that the state should get involved? Because it will be the purpose of dealing with a
But then
political
there's going to be the
event.
contention that the state, because it has to be the government to move it, right? It's
Yeah.
only getting involved because of the political position, weakened position with PNM and the THA.
Well, that's why I said there's a political response and there's a state response. And the state response has to be one that's sober and clearly thought out. Because
Yeah.
and even though politics is often mixed up in state responses in a democracy, there's a larger constitutional picture and the framing of how the THA operates against the Trinidad and Tobago legislature. And do you really want to meddle with it?
Yeah, but
for
imagine Dr.
the
Rowley and the
issue
PNM now.
of a political falling out?
Imagine under the present situation, the PNM goes to the parliament and brings a bill to amend the THA Act to deal with the situation where they have one representative. People are going to say you're abusing the parliamentary power to get back in power in Tobago. You understand?
Yes.
That's going to be the contention of many. So I think that is something you have to be very careful with because, as you always say, the optics of it. Yeah, you're going to say you're abusing the parliamentary power. I mean, you have the right to do it. You're the government. But is it the best thing to do under these circumstances, given the optics that may evolve from it? Do you have newspapers?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Read a walk or the road again out.
Not in the middle of rain.
There's this wonderful invention called an umbrella.
Yeah.
You should try it sometime.
And I don't use it to go and get people.
Okay. Last I check your other vehicle. Okay, it's Tuesday. Well, you can craft the question then, since you have to be useful in some way. Tuesday, 25th April, 2023. Let's start with the news day online. Watson Duke, Raleigh 2 week to force THA election. 7 officers to be charged in alleged extortion ring. Judge tells police. Probe sexual exploitation at Cocoa Reef Hotel. Chief Secretary tells Prime Minister, man your damn business. HTC chair, rule breaking leads to anarchy. Fitzgerald Hines gun banned to protect region from mass shootings. MSJ procurement law not enough. And Urpuch widow wants justice for her murdered husband. Let's move to the Express Online for today. I have to really bring this in my iPad, you know. Express for today. Mind your damn business. That's the 1 hour Reatate article that appeared online in the Express. Jesse, you are the real champion. A story of strength and ambition touched many hearts, but there was one response that left Jesse Stewart feeling like the luckiest boy alive. A beautiful human interest story there. Mayor surprised by flooding. Port of Spain Mayor Joel Martinez intends to ask for an investigation as to why, with 10 minutes of rain, there was high level of flooding in Port of Spain. Apparently, it's the first time he's seen the flooding in Port of Spain in no time. First pitch athlete flies TNT flag high. New project to help with mental health. MBA pursues remote work for civil service. Death after Lyme. So those are Express trending stories. We move now to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today, Tuesday, the 25th. I'm talking so I can bring up the page. Right. Woman seeks cover in bar as gunmen fatally shoot husband. Run, babe. Babe, run. Dwayne Sanders shouted to his common-law wife, Akeisha Balkisoon, as gunmen shot him several times as they tried to get home on Sunday evening. Really sad. Judge
that is tragic, horrific story.
Yeah. Dismissed Cocoa Reef Resort general manager wins lawsuit. Mind your damn business. Farley Augustine tells the Prime Minister. Boris hears Tobago jazz experience a success. Hines government committed to countering human trafficking. And above average April showers triggers flash flooding. So those are trending stories in Express, Guardian, and Newsday for today, Tuesday, the 25th of April, 2023.
Yeah. And in some other news that I got here, there was a triple murder at Charlo Village, Penal.
Has it been confirmed?
Yeah, homicide 191, 92, and 93. Yeah, I sent it to you a while ago.
Well, the site I saw, I don't want to confirm from
Yeah.
that site.
All right.
What?
Let's get
Yeah,
the
I
results
saw
of
it
our
over there.
morning poll. We asked you yesterday, do you agree with the Prime Minister that Farley Augustine, or Augustine, or however you want to pronounce it, should call an early Tobago House of Assembly elections? The results are in. 64%, 64 said no. 64% said no.
Coming up after 7 a.m., we'll have Dr. Denise Soyafat Angus to make her thoughts known on the Tobago evolving situation. Today's question, Mr. Ragobarsingh, is
I wasn't sure whether to say what I had it initially phrased as is, do you think the state should get involved in solving the THA political fallout as suggested by Watson Duke? I wasn't sure whether to swap out the state with the Trinidad legislature or the Prime Minister.
the Prime Minister.
So do you think the Prime Minister should get involved in solving the THA political fallout as suggested by Watson Duke? That's our poll this morning. Do you think the Prime Minister should get involved in solving the THA political fallout as suggested by Watson Duke? He's called on the Prime Minister to save Tobago. So, do you think the Prime Minister should get involved? Yes or no? That's our poll this morning. 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and app, you know what to do in terms of voting. People in other parts of the world, 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255. Do you think that the Prime Minister should get involved in solving the THA political fallout as suggested by Watson Duke? That's our poll this morning. Let's hear what you have to say. You got the numbers, and you can start voting also on our message board by sending your votes via the messaging portal on the respective sites, whether you're on the phone or whether you are on the web. Of course, we're also taking calls at 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, toll free at 866-525-1099. And, well, people on the web and the app. Any votes coming in on the message board, Steve?
No, nothing yet. Just good morning to Mo Gaines, Sankofa, Meb, and Joy. Good morning to you all.
So do you think that the Prime Minister should get involved in solving the THA political fallout, or if you want to say the THA problem, as suggested by Watson Duke? Of course, you would have seen the clip of Watson Duke talking about the issue. So do you think the Prime Minister should get involved? That's our poll this morning. Paul could probably play the clip one more time. It's not. So 222-TALK, 222-8255. We're taking your calls and we're taking your votes at this point. The polling booth is now open. Ta-da! Steve, could you check to see if the message board has any votes, please?
I got a couple coming in, just 2 so far. Do have a call though. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Morning.
My answer is no. Watson Duke caused the problem in the first place. My answer
No.
is
All right, thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Steve.
Morning.
Maria Mava here. No, because if Watson Duke was with Farley, he would have told the Prime Minister, mind your damn business too.
Thank you, Maria. Oh, you're hilarious. Trevor Narima says no. Ish out in Malik says no. Kenny in Harlem says no. DJ Ray out in Tampa says yes. Ken E says no. Maraval on the road says yes. GB in Trin City says no. Dennis, no. Dre out in Rio Claro. How was the weather in Rio Claro, Dre? Says no. Trini Jam. Hell no to the pool. You did it, Christine. Mr. Carapo says no. Meb says no to the poll. Thank you so much.
So we are taking your votes, and just in case you're now joining us, our poll this morning, do you think that the Prime Minister should get involved in solving the THA political fallout, the THA bacchanal, the THA problem, whatever you want to call it, as suggested by Watson Duke? Watson Duke has suggested that the Prime Minister needs to get involved because the Trinidad and Tobago legislature can change the THA Act, I suppose, and solve the problem, inverted commas. Do you think the Prime Minister should get involved in solving the THA problem as suggested by Watson Duke? That's our poll this morning. What do you think, listeners and people
Long Islander
watching us?
says no. Ms. Maloney says no. Carol Guevara says no. All right. You got 3.5 minutes to vote.
We're also taking your calls, of course. 222-TALK, 222-8255. You know, we like to hear your voices. 222-TALK, 222-8255. Of course, North Americans, you can also call toll-free 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app, you can give your votes. People in other parts of the planet, 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255. Do you think the Prime Minister should get involved in solving the THA issue as suggested by Watson Duke? That's our poll this morning.
All right. Get those calls coming. Get those hits coming. Marcus G says no. Wayne out in Simcoe, Ontario, Canada, says no.
Should the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, get involved? Yes, go ahead, Steve.
Leonard Naipaul, good morning. Beauty Culture, good morning. Beauty Culture says no. Leonard Naipaul says no. Adonna Clark says no way. Jacqueline Linfat says no. Good morning, Una Antoine. All right, that's some messages coming in via YouTube. All right, you got a minute and a half again to vote before AV comes in with our major news to 7 o'clock. Yeah, all right. Wow, there's some serious flooding in Matura, man.
TalK, 222-8255. Just have a couple minutes left for you on the poll. Probably like a minute or less. 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app. Do you think the Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, should get involved in solving the THA issue as suggested by Watson Duke? That's our poll.
Yeah. Lorna, morning, Lorna. Carly Indy, no to the poll. Thank you so much. 222-8255.
That one vote?
Yeah,
that was
just
one
no.
vote.
That's just one no.
Oh.
Toll free North Americans 866 525 1099. That's the numbers directly into our studio. All right, give us a call. Any after Jacqueline? Did I get any more? No. Okay. Yeah. Should the Prime Minister get involved?
In solving the THA issue. That's our poll this morning.
Yeah. That's Intel, yeah. Hey, Furniture Plus. Yeah, Furniture Plus has a mega mattress deals for you. Shop Queen mattresses from as low as $7.99. Plus, get up to 20% off select Serta and ceiling mattresses with free gifts. Combo bases and accessories are also on sale. Check press and social media for details. All right? That's all happening at Furniture Plus. As we head up towards our 7 o'clock news. Oh, let's see if any more votes come in here. Mr. Karapu, yeah, you got that vote already. Good morning to Keith Franco. Have a great day, Keith. Thank you so much for joining us and watching us. Just when you thought ugly people could get a job on radio, they bring Paul, Richard, and Wendell. Yeah, and put a camera in front of them. Please take your time on the roads, folks. It's a bit, got a couple accidents already for the morning, so please take your time. Traffic is very heavy. Let me tell you where traffic is starting. Traffic is starting from as you leave Manzanilla to Sangre Chiquito, going through there towards Sangre Grande. You've got traffic. I hate to think if you're coming into Port of Spain, what time you'll get here. Let's get into our major news. Aviation Hillbab is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Chief Secretary Farley Augustin has told Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to mind his business. Watson Duke says the Prime Minister is too weak to force an election in Tobago. The mayor says he's surprised at flooding in downtown Port of Spain. And Joe Biden announces 2024 presidential run. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. Chief Secretary Farley Augustin has told Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to mind his business. This as he responded to Dr. Rowley's call for fresh Tobago House of Assembly elections following Augustin's split from the Progressive Democratic Patriots, an announcement of the new Tobago People's Party. On his personal Facebook page, Augustin posted a video of Dr. Rowley at a People's National Movement meeting, saying that as Prime Minister, he stays out of Tobago's business. Augustin captioned the video, "Well, just mind your damn business then." Meanwhile, political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, Watson Duke, supports the Prime Minister's stinging condemnation of the Tobago House of Assembly's Chief Secretary, Farley Augustin, and his executive. He says they did not have the mandate of the people of Tobago. He's accused Farley and his gang of hijacking the THA and says that there should be an election. However, Duke maintains that the Prime Minister is too weak to force an election and, in fact, depends on Mr. Duke to fight Augustin. Augustin and the majority of the THA members are former PDP members. Duke said at the end of the day, the PNM has a responsibility as the island's opposition. He said he himself would not be opposing Farley, but it was up to the people of Tobago to accept it or reject Mr. Augustin. However, he warned that acceptance would signal to him, the national community, Trinidad and Tobago, and the wider Caribbean that Tobagonians are quote-unquote dotish. Port of Spain Mayor Joel Martinez says he intends to ask for an investigation to be conducted into the reasons why there was such a high level of flooding in Port of Spain yesterday after just 10 minutes of rain. He was at the time commenting on flooding on South Key yesterday. He said he was unaware whether the pumps down at South Key were turned on as the that might very well be one of the issues. Speaking in an interview on I95.5 FM yesterday, he said he was very surprised at the amount of water that he'd seen on South Key. He said that he did not know if it was the drains that were clogged, saying, quote, "I will find out all that as I will ask the CEO to respond in a report to me," end quote. Downtown Port of Spain appeared to have received the bulk of flash flooding yesterday, but floods were also reported along the eastern main road to Napuna and southern main road, Western Main Road, St. James, as well as in Caranage and Cocorite. Ryson Road and Arapita Avenue were not spared either, as well as multiple areas in Woodbrook. In central Port of Spain, there were flash floods along St. Vincent Street, Charlotte Street, Park Street, and Chancery Lane. The government is being asked to reconsider its position on migrants being allowed a place in the local education system. According to UNHCR, 25,500 refugees and asylum seekers live in Trinidad and Tobago. 25% of them are children. 86% of those registered with UNHCR in Trinidad and Tobago are Venezuelans. Speaking at the opening ceremony for a 3-day pre-operations meeting for an anti-human trafficking exercise called Operation Caricica, Spain's ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago, Fernando Nogales Alvarez, called on the ruling administration to revisit its position on migrant Venezuelan children being allowed into the education system.
We have a long-standing commitment, and the welfare of the people that for a series of circumstances have been forced to leave Venezuela is a constant concern of us. This is why we, as an embassy, together with other countries, we are pleading for the government of Trinidad and Tobago, this wonderful island, that they reassess how do they approach the possibility of minors from Venezuela.
Meanwhile, government says it's determined to make inroads against human trafficking. This comes from Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines. Trinidad and Tobago is on the Tier 2 watch list of the United States Department of State Annual Trafficking in Persons report. Minister Hines said the government is working with all stakeholders in a bid to address the situation.
So serious it is, this business of trafficking in persons, that despite our government's very significant efforts, we find ourselves on the Tier 2 watch list of the United States Department of State's annual Trafficking in Persons report. Nevertheless, the government of Trinidad and Tobago remains deeply and fully committed to countering human trafficking and continues to work with all stakeholders in the fight against this modern-day slavery.
You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. U.S. President Joe Biden has announced that he will seek re-election for the presidency in 2024, with Vice President Kamala Harris again his running mate. Now 80 and already the oldest president in U.S. history, Biden had long signaled he would run for another 4-year term. In a video launching his bid to retain the White House, he cast the next election as a fight for democracy and personal freedom, saying, "Let's finish the job." Donald Trump has already launched his bid, meaning the pair could be set for a rematch of the 2020 election in November next year. With Biden's Democrat performing better than expected in last year's midterm elections, he is unlikely to face much competition from within his own party. But an NBC News poll recently found that 70% of Americans and just over half of Democrats believe he should not run again. Finally, here is weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, partly cloudy, but becoming cloudy with periods of showers or rain over broad areas. There is a medium chance some of these showers could become heavy and or thundery, especially near Tobago. Nighttime continuing partly cloudy to cloudy with some showers, but improves as the night progresses. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 29 degrees Celsius, both at Piarco International Airport and Crown Point, Tobago. Currently, it is 23 degrees Celsius with rain at Piarco and 24 degrees Celsius, also with rain at Crown Point in Tobago. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, Chief Secretary Fali Augustin has told the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, to mind his business. Watson Duke says the Prime Minister is too weak to force an election in Tobago. The mayor says he's surprised at flooding in downtown Port of Spain, and Joe Biden announces 2024 presidential run. I'm Avril Sintelbab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Alrighty, 10 minutes after the hour is 7 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us on the second hour of the Power Breakfast Show. Paul Richards, Richard Ragobarsingh. Ruben is in the mix. And of course, my name is Steve Khan. We keep you company until 9 o'clock this morning. All right, quickly, let's take a look at what's happening traffic-wise. It's heavy. If you're coming from the east, it is heavy. All right, you're going to get traffic way before Grandy heading towards Valencia. Antigua Road is heavy going through Santa Rosa. Heavy again, Piarco straight into Port of Spain. If you're coming from Chicagones Main Road, Southern Main Road, past Chin Chin Road, Ibis Gardens to Curep, you've got some traffic as well. Tacarigua passing Paget and Mount Hope, heading towards Mova Junction, going up Lady Young Road towards the Lookout, and of course coming out of Maraval. For those coming through Santa Cruz, you're going to get traffic from Undercover coming out of Santa Cruz onto Maraval. Out of Dago, I got another accident to tell you about. This is by Maracas Gardens on Maracas Railroad. You've got, you've got an accident there. It seems to be a serious one. Let's take a look. Let's head down San Fernando, see what's going on. You're not going to like it. You're not going to like it. Got some traffic on the creek. You got traffic from the start of the Solomon Hojoy Highway heading straight towards the Kelly Village. Traffic is extremely heavy this morning. All right. Right. Okay. Let's see if I got any more votes. I got Oliver Manwaran saying no to the poll. And that is it. Yeah.
Do you have beauty culture saying no?
Yeah, I got all those ready.
Lana, you have all those already, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I can give you the results.
Yep.
So our poll this morning was, do you think that the Prime Minister should get involved in solving the THA issue as suggested by Watson Duke? We had 25 people voting in the allotted time. Of the 25 people voting, 23 of you said no, keep out of that. And 2 of you said yes, he should get involved. So 23 of you said no, and 2 of you said yes. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day and throughout programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning, when we will have a new poll, and it will be Wednesday, which will be midweek.
Yeah, the Wednesday edition of the Power Breakfast Show.
Right.
Is the weather expected to improve today?
No, it seems I'll send you the imagery.
I don't need to see that.
Well, that'll look. Ooh.
Just a question.
It is really pouring up at your end neck of the woods there, Richie Rich. Wow.
Let's say good morning to Dr. Denise Soyapatangas. I don't know if she is hearing us clearly. Well, she's in the system, but she's I hope she's hearing us.
She has joined us. All right, so we wait for her to come online. Let me let you all know.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, we're hearing you now.
Can you hear me now?
I'm
Yes.
seeing you. Good morning,
All right.
Dr.
And
Soyapatangas.
right.
Good morning. It's Richard, Paul, and Steve.
Morning.
Good morning.
and of course, your listening and viewing audience across the world.
Yep.
It is a pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. But we can start by asking you our morning poll question this morning. Watson Duke is suggesting that Dr. Raleigh get involved and quote unquote rescue Tobago from what's happening in the assembly. In your opinion, should Dr. Raleigh get involved, the state?
No, Dr. Rowley should not be getting involved. If we are clamoring for greater autonomy in Tobago, it is time we start understanding and finding solutions to sorting out our business here. You know, you can't want greater autonomy, and every time something happens, you run to Trinidad to say, help me. That's not how you grow. You grow through the streets of hard knocks, and you determine how to work together, find solutions on the way forward. And that is when you prove to the rest of the country that you could manage your business. So, no, Dr. Rowley should not be getting involved in this. It's going to work itself out.
Will it? An election? In an election, maybe? Or is it going to work itself out before? Is there a way
No, they have to start sitting down around the table and talking. You know, these group of persons don't believe in talking to people or having conversations with people. Everything is taken to Facebook in terms of the responses and in terms of the conversations. It is time that we get leaders around the table, the people around the table in Tobago to determine Tobago's future. How do we go forward? And an election is not going to solve that issue. What we are
So,
seeing now is what we must see in order to put in the different areas into the bill that did not take into consideration this what is happening in Tobago right now.
if you're putting something into the bill is going to come out of the Trinidad and Tobago legislature, cited in Port of Spain. So it's really, in a kind of way, Port of Spain solving that kind of problem for the future.
And you see, and that's part of it. Because in that bill now has to take into consideration because right now Tobago doesn't have laws. Okay?
Mhm.
So whether we like it or not, it has to go through Parliament. But what Parliament needs to understand is that they're just a conduit and that Tobago has to speak exactly what needs to be in that bill for us to adequately manage ourselves. And perhaps if we look at the bill right now, and that is something that we are actively doing, to see how the bill addresses what is going on right now in Tobago. If we have not had this going on, we would not know whether that bill is at the door of Parliament is currently adequate for us to be able to manage ourselves going forward.
What do you
But
think about the theory?
Is the THA Assembly, led by Fali Augustine, interested in having the act amended?
Um, Clearly, that indication is not, because it is not something that has been on the forefront of their lips. It's not something that they've called meetings about. It's not something that you hear them championing, but it's something that it's very much needed at this time.
What do you think about the position that has evolved in the context? And I really would be interested to hear your thoughts on the Mr. Augustine and his colleagues went gained victory in the assembly under the PDP banner. They subsequently resigned from the PDP and called themselves independent, and now have formed a new party. Those who won, there's no legal requirement for them to resign, as has been espoused by many people. But there are those who also suggest that there may be a moral and ethical dilemma in them remaining there under this new TPP entity. What are your thoughts on that?
It is a moral and ethical dilemma, but it is not a legal one because the Tobago House of Assembly Act accommodates all of that. And we have to remember that this is not the first time that this has happened. It's the first time it has happened with them being in administration. But we had um, years back when Deborah Moore Miggins ran as an independent. And then when she won her seat, now was in administration, you had Richard, Alfred, and Beverly Ramsey Moore, who left the administration, crossed the floor into being into the minority. They joined with Deborah, and inside of their formed PEP, the PEP party. Okay, so it has happened before in opposition. It's now happening being in administration. So precedence has been set in the House. Whether they were in opposition, whether they were in office, precedence has been set in the House. I think persons are not looking at the whole evolution of the testing of the act that we have. And if we would stop the grandstanding and the politicizing of everything, we would really be able to clearly see what the act has given us to date. Because remember, we had 12 seats before, then we had the 6-6. So the act was tested there. And how did we collaborate over that? We made a call to Trinidad, all you go and fix it. When they could have sat in the House in the true spirit of what the act was created to do and collaborate in terms of how the leadership should play out there, rather than going back to an election. But we went back to an election. And so another facet of the act is being tested, where the act only speaks to representation in the House, which is different from the Parliament that speak to those with the greatest majority would hold the House, and the Prime Minister is naturally chosen as the leader of that party. In Tobago, the Act speaks to representatives around the table who then choose who they want to be, for Chief Secretary, and who they want for being the deputy um, deputy
So
prime.
is it that you see the THA Act as being more evolved, or is it that you're seeing it as being lesser than what takes place in Port of Spain?
Well, what is happening is that it is being exposed. It is now for us to really see what it is in there. And in that exposure, we have to determine in Tobago, was that act protective of Tobago? Given our size, given that everybody's related, it's 50,000 people on the island, or is it something that now we have to look at differently in terms of how we go in? I mean, how we go to the next level, whether it is something like Trinidad. And I mean, for example, there is the states of Jersey in the United Kingdom, and their constitution similarly has representatives across the table being recognized. The difference is that when they go to elections, it's not party. It's all independents going into elections. They then go into the House, they choose a leader of their executive, and then that leader is asked to choose from among them who best fits the capacity to be a part of that administration. After the leader chooses, that leader has to come back to the House, and the House has to approve that group that he has identified as the group he's willing to work with. Okay? Of course, they have a lot more persons than just the 15 that we have. I think they may have closer to 30, which is something we have to think about going forward, because do you really have true democracy with 15 people in the House where the majority of them are in the Assembly and the rest of them don't really have a voice on behalf of the people significantly to be able to provide the adequate oversight of the administration that is fully required.
What are
Uh,
Tobagonians thinking about this now? Because I mean, this has been quite a tumultuous ride politically and socially for Tobago. There was, as you indicated, in the January, the halfway rejection of the PNM when it was 12, 12, 6, 6. The, when they went to 15 through an action of Parliament to go to 15. It went to 13-1, is it? For 14-1,
14-1.
sorry.
Yes,
And now there was a falling out of that significant. I mean, you can't get a bigger mandate than that.
yes.
And so inside of that significant mandate, Tobago spoke. And then the mandate, the participants in the mandate had their confrontation. X and Y resigned, and X and Y stayed in the assembly and went as independents, and now are represented by this new TPP party. So, with somebody being on the ground yourself and having had experience in politics for a while, how do Tobagonians generally feel about this evolution, this situation?
Tobagonians have mixed views on it. Um, they do consider, many of them consider that they were duped, that it was a betrayal. Because remember, in when you have an elections in Tobago, what gives a large mandate like that? It's not PDP voters. You have PDP voters. You have PNM voters, PNM supporters. You have fence sitters who came off the fence and said, time for a change in Tobago. And all of them gave that mandate. And so to see where, uh, and what is apparent to people is that this is a personal uh, fracas between the two leaders within the PDP back then that caused this breakup now, and these changes that are occurring. So people feel a bit betrayed, they feel duped. There are those who would have been in their party who felt, okay, well, maybe it was coming for a long time because you had heard of all of the rumors that all was not well in there, and it has finally come to a head. So, but they are, but in terms of Trinidad coming in to fix Tobago, I think people are clear. Let us deal with our business. We have to start growing big boy pants and big girl, wear in Tobago, and we need to start dealing with our business. We can't keep running to Trinidad and say, come over and help us, come over and help us.
But is
And
it
then at the
affecting
end
the
of the day,
governance
we
in
are
Tobago?
beating up on Trinidad to
Because
say that you can't come, you can't come to do this and you can't come to do that, but then we want your help.
Tobago has been clamoring for better governance for a while. Um, and many of the developmental issues, I'm presuming, in Tobago would have been at the forefront of the way Tobagonians voted. I mean, to me, there was a rejection of a particular leader as to why the PNM got the kind of resounding curtail they got. And I see that situation has been changed now by force because they didn't listen to me. If they were listening, it may not have been so profound. But a lot of the decisions any electorate makes is because they want better for themselves and their families. They want better for the
Absolutely.
environment. They want better for the island. They want better for their constituencies. And all of this, to me, distracts from whether or not that is being delivered. Do you think that is happening?
Absolutely, Paul. They say when the elephants trample the grass gets hurt, and the people of Tobago are really suffering because of all of this distraction taking place. The Tobago economy is truly in a bad place, and there is no confidence in the administration anymore. The banks are holding back on loans to people and to businesses. And there's less money circulating within the Tobago environment because your places like your supermarkets would tell you there are drastically less sales, which means that people are not spending money. They are holding on their money because they don't know what is happening or what's coming next and what their future looks like. And that is not a good place to be in. And, while we, continue to practice the old way of politics, the people suffer. It is time that we start looking at the issues. And I want to take, for instance, this issue um, with the licensing. We are linked. The crime in Trinidad being out of control affects Tobago because oftentimes, sometimes this is where they come to hide. And the stagnation of the Tobago's economy affects the full development of the country. So we are inextricably linked, and we cannot expect to exist in a vacuum between our islands. And so the demarcation of clear of responsibilities, despite the fifth schedule, discussions must be held. Why? Telling me I am responsible for something and me being able to operationalize something are two different things. So this whole issue and the bacchanal with the licensing officers is an issue for a full sit down and discussion because it points back again to the Tobago Autonomy Bill. What is happening is that you have licensing under the Tobago House of Assembly responsibilities. However, the positions, the public service positions that reside in Tobago are filled from officers who are sent from Trinidad, whose substantive salaries are being paid from Trinidad, and who are given allowances for their acting up from the Tobago House of Assembly. So you could see the challenge there. An officer has two bosses. When officers are confirmed in the positions, that is when the Tobago House of Assembly takes up full responsibility for paying those officers, and therefore they report to the Assembly. And so those are the unique challenges we have that cannot be sorted out for workability for the people of Tobago if we are not sitting down with consistent communication as to how we're going forward.
Well, that seems to be a problem. That problem of lack of communication between opposing parties in a legislature is a problem that Trinidad is quite familiar with. So I think it just feeds into a similar picture or mirror in the Tobago context. So I hear you, and that's the ideal, that people need to sit down and put aside egos and get about of the people's business. But how realistic is that in terms of the personalities involved?
But you see, that is all, and again, the people have to see what they have. And it's up to the people to choose differently when the time comes. And the people have to see the full extent of what they have and not be curtailed by some snap election so they couldn't really see
Well, I was
the
going to
full
say, I was
extent
going
of
to
what they're
ask that,
having.
will an election make a difference under the present constitutional construct?
I don't think so, because what we must do is to be able to move beyond the old political ways of thinking and forge a new political ideology based truly on working towards the advancement of the people we serve. That's why we are elected into office, and the old political approaches of the bacchanal and victimization has to stop for us to truly advance ourselves as a society, because it is becoming just a total distraction. We have to move towards representation, and the people must demand representation over the personal issues.
But if
We
we look
must
at the
have
data and
mutual respect.
the history of the situation, and we realize that for the last, let's just use the last 30 years as an example, they've changed between NAR, PNM, TOP, PNM, PDP, and now TPP. And the developmental goals are still not being met. The people are still not being served adequately, so it may not be the people, because you've changed from older people with experience to younger people people with different mandates, people with different promises. But the core of what Tobagonians want does not seem to be being met. So it is clear to me that it is the present construct within which we operate, the THA Act, and the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago that's at the core of the inability of us to get the situation to be resolved in the interest of Tobagonians and Trinidadians, because you can't separate the two in that way.
Correct. Absolutely correct. You know?
So we keep looking at people and not structure, law, and systems.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
We keep looking at the people and personalizing it, as opposed to looking at the law under which we operate and the structure and the systems under which we're operating.
It has to be everything. It has to be everything. It has to be also us truly understanding what representation means, and that when we get into office, what that looks like. I mean, let's look at the basics of respect. You know, mutual respect has to be accorded to those in office and from those in office. The kind of utterances I am seeing on Facebook from both sides of the leaders, you know, our children are looking up to that. When your children look up to that, and then we have to wonder why we're having the disintegration of, you know, behaviors on the island, where children are growing from innocent children to very disruptive children who want to lead a life of crime. Where do we think those examples come from if our leaders can't show themselves to be respectful in terms of their utterances and clearly lack temperance in their speech and actions? And we have gone away from the tenets that say leadership, you know, starts with me. It starts with how I behave. So we can't expect to curb crime and what is happening in schools if that is your example of leadership that you have. And so we have to demand more of the people we put in office, and be very, perhaps we need to be more mindful of just putting a party in office and looking at the quality of the leadership that you put in office to manage a party.
So
Because
isn't
at the end of the day, we have a saying, when things go wrong, fish rotten from the head. Yeah?
but you know you talked about the Jersey situation in England and how they operated on the basis that everybody's an independent. So it means there has to be consensus in whom is the leader and who the leader puts as sub leaders, if you want to call them that, and then everybody has to prove that. So it means, by extension, that if people are dissatisfied, you can be removed from the leadership position.
Yes.
because the consensus could fray.
Yes.
In a kind of way, Tobago's ahead of the curve in that respect, if you like that kind of system, because that kind of system really holds leadership to be very accountable and very microscopic. You'll be viewed in terms of your other members, because if they figure, look, you're not meeting the standard of leadership that we require, you can be removed.
Correct.
But Tobago is closer to that form than Trinidad certainly is. So is it a plus in a sense?
And, you know, in essence, you can say, because in Trinidad, if a leader is removed, then that leader no longer is if a leader is removed at their party level,
Yeah.
then I believe that leader is no longer automatically the prime minister, as long as there's somebody who is an elected official there that takes over within the party. In Tobago, it doesn't have to be dealt from the party level, like you're saying. all the representatives need to go into the house and say we no longer have confidence in the current chief secretary or the deputy chief secretary or even the presiding officer. And we are voting to have a new one put in place. And so, yes, that can be done. But when you have the independents per se, who are part and parcel of now the evolution of a new party, do they understand their role? Do they understand their powers? And that is why I say to people say, oh, an election will be called soon. I say the power for an election does not even reside with Farley Augustine. The power for an election resides with all of those representatives around that table. Because in order to dissolve the Tobago House of Assembly, in order to call an election, it has to be taken for a vote in the House. Many
But
of
but
those
but the,
representatives have gotten new cars, new this. They are not going to vote against their own self-interest of having a salary for the next 2.5 years.
but wasn't the moniker of independence just a transitionary misnomer? Because if you resign from a party, you have no party you're aligned to at that time, and you have to call yourself something in the interim. And independent means, as to your point that you were making a while ago, it's not like they weren't behind the scenes following the rule of some sort of leader in an informal way. They weren't really acting in the true spirit of what you say is an independent anyway.
Correct. But they don't know. I'm saying that the representatives don't understand their own powers, even within that, because they voted for Farley Augustine to be chief secretary. And at any time, they could decide that they want to vote for somebody else inside of there to be chief secretary. And it is through a vote that they would have to take to say, well, listen, I am going to cut my salary short and not go to the end of my term and hope that Farley, as part of this party, puts me back to running a seat and hope that the people put me back in office.
So that's not exclusive to the TPP. That you could say that of the PNM or the TOP when they were in the NAR, when they were in governance in the THA. Anybody could break ranks and do what they want, but there are consequences to that politically if you're part of a political ensemble.
What are the consequences to that with the independents? They broke away from the PDP. They are now with this new entity where they are not sure that they will even get a seat to go back. Okay? So,
But isn't that the same way with
gain
any
or to
political
lose?
entity offering themselves up to the electorate?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
A
that.
political party structure is what exists in Trinidad and Tobago with the PNM, the UNC, the TOP, the TPP, whatever it is. And
And you can go up as
it's
an
up to the individuals to
independent.
toe the line or face the consequences, because that's our political history.
But what toward which line? Because right now they really don't have a party. There's the name of a party put forward. But has that party been approved by the EBC? So we keep talking about a party when right now I would think if they made the application, it's in the hands of the EBC to determine whether that is a party or not.
And approve.
Correct. And we know that takes a while.
I don't know. Do you think you were part of the PNM at one point
Yes, I was.
and you left the PNM and formed your own party?
Yes.
The PNM suffered the 6-6 defeat, and then it changed to 15 and then 14-1. There were obviously reasons that the Tobago electorate made that profound change, because that was a profound shift.
Correct.
Do you think the PNM has recognized what the message sent by the Tobago electorate and made the changes?
No, I don't think they have. And from the mere fact that the Prime Minister has done his utterances and gotten involved in this, it says to me that they have not understood what the Tobago people were saying for a while.
What was the message?
The message is we want the opportunity to manage our business. Just because you have birthright does not give you the opportunity now, sitting in office, to speak for us. You are over there, we are here, we are living on the island. Give us the opportunity to sort out our business. Okay? People felt that too many mandates were coming from Trinidad in terms of managing the assembly. And so people really voted against all of that.
But I may prefer that if an election were held in a month, given the instability of the independence slash TPP and the imbroglio between Watson Duke and Farley Augustine, and the fact that they have not been able to offer any sort of stable governance, that Tobago may just split the vote again, and you can only vote from what the options are.
Yes.
So it may very well go back to 7, 8, or whatever it is, and you know,
Or 555,
555,
whatever.
and then what? And then what has evolved? What has Tobago gained?
Well, Tobago would then have to see how its leaders have learned their lesson in terms of beginning the collaborative process, in terms of finding our own solutions to go forward.
But the collaboration has
Okay?
not been our strong suit in Trinidad or Tobago.
And that's why I say we need to start creating a new type of politics to benefit the people. It has become too much about people's personalities and personal agendas. It is time for a new way of politics that would benefit the people. And I have all confidence that this whole process and journey is necessary at this point to get us to that place of a new type of politics that we need in this island, on this island and in this country.
Are you willing to take some calls, Dr. Soyafat Hangas?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Our numbers are 222-TALK, 222-8255, 612-8255. North Americans toll free, 866-525-1099. Our guest is Dr. Denise Soyafat Angus. What's the name of the party again? Please remember me. I apologize.
Innovative Democratic Alliance, the IDA.
How would you respond to those who say, well, Dr. Soyafat Angus is making a lot of sense theoretically, but you offered yourself and they didn't choose you either?
That's a process. Many of the leaders went up for the first time and they weren't chosen. It is a process. And what it says is a person's commitment to keep going. Okay? If I had packed up and walked away, you could say, well, maybe it's a good thing we didn't choose her. But inside of all of this, because I have stayed the cause and committed to speaking on behalf of the people, no matter what, it says my level of commitment to the people.
All right, Dr. Angus, we have another call here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to know why you left the PNM and form your own party, and after you jumped to Farley and their party. Why? Could you tell me why? Thank you.
Well, first and foremost, I am not in Farley's party. This is not the TPP, this is the IDA. Secondly, I left the PNM because they were no longer listening and serving the people. It's as simple as that. And the people of Tobago voted against them for that said reason.
How do you see the next 3 months to 6 months playing out with this? Are we heading, it's already the end of April, we're heading to May. I don't know what the developmental agenda is in Tobago, but I'm not hearing a lot about that. I heard a new hotel opened the other day. The airport is supposed to be redone, but you're hearing on the other side of it, business, okay, they just finished the jazz festival. Some are touting success, others from Trinidad are looking on and saying, well, it was lukewarm, and all of these are elements in what should be the progressive movement forward of an island that we know as part of a unitary state with so much potential that has not been realized for 50, 60 years.
Yeah. The economy in Tobago is quite bad. you know.
What does that mean in real
Um,
terms?
when you begin to hear supermarket owners comment on the fact that the number of people coming to purchase food. I mean, food is one of the most basic requirements on the island. And when there's a significant drop off in people coming to purchase food, that sends a clear message as to where the economy is. Because that is a basic need, an item for everyone. And additionally, you have the banks that are not giving loans to either business people or giving loans as they were to contract officers because of the lack of confidence as to where is the administration going. We're not hearing or seeing a clear vision as to where they're taking the people of Tobago. And so banks have become hesitant in terms of how they're releasing monies to people to whether save their businesses or to even expand what they're doing. And so, from those aspects, yes, we have a serious challenge where that is concerned. And we cannot continue just to say increase the number of people working in unskilled jobs because you're not helping those people either. With the level of inflation that we have had post COVID, um, you find that the monies that those people were working for no longer carries them to a space. And we have brought in a lot of persons to work, and now people are complaining that they cannot get paid from the administration. So it is a conundrum that we are in, and we're not hearing clearly from the leadership and the administration as to where we are going. We had the jazz experience, and I am still waiting to hear from the Hotel Association as to what was their occupancy rate. I've spoken to one or two, and they said, well, it just wasn't, they had a better time at Easter. It wasn't as well attended from their perspective, head on beds. I spoke to a large group that came up, about 20 people who came up from Trinidad, and they said, well, listen, we just came up for one event, the Mount Irving event. The Mount Irving event is not even a THA event. So
And
they
it's
were
free.
here. No, the Mount Irving event was
It's
not
not
free.
free anymore.
No, it
Okay.
was not free.
No. All
Mm-mm.
right. We do have
So
a
they
call.
came up to that event and did not go to the other THA events.
Good morning, caller.
Yes.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to the guests. Just to clarify something for me. Now, I see that you make reference to Schedule 5 of the THA Act, but no mention of, I think, Part or Para 24, 26, I believe, if I'm not incorrect. That speaks to the responsibility of the THA and responsibility of central government, and also make mention that the THA is an agent of central government, right? And it being an agent of central government, is it safe to say that although the agencies that share commonality between both islands, be it the licensing department, police, etc., that with reference to licensing, that they share in terms of the policy of the THA, but central government still has an input, because being an agent means that you are acting on the instructions sometimes of, or the mandate of the main aspect being central government. And the next question I'm asking quite simply is that, do you believe that this administration, be it the THA administration, has the confidence of the business sector within there? Because you make mention of it in terms of the persons onshore. And do you feel that they are competent enough? And due to that incompetency, that is why you have a failure when it comes to competence. Right? Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
So let's take from the business sector first, since that is what I was speaking about before. The sector has spoken clearly. They no longer have confidence in the administration to take them anywhere. And one of the challenges we have with the administration is, number one, Many of them have not come from private sector. They don't understand the entity called private sector and how it operates. And inside of them not even having that understanding and that experience, they're not willing to listen uh, to what they have to say, or even to entertain regular meetings with the private sector to see how we can collaborate with y'all in going forward. For Tobago to really grow, we need a robust private sector. Okay? And so going forward, you must have those conversations and frequent consultations with the private sector, and together you build a vehicle to go forward. But that is not happening. And from a lot of the consultants who have been with them, you hear that they're not listening. And so they're going on their own volition, which lacks experience in order to take us further in that conversation concerning the growth of our private sector. To go back to the Tobago House of Assembly Act, there are three areas. There's what we consider the fifth schedule, there's the sixth schedule, and the seventh schedule, right? There are areas where they are directly responsible for, Tobago is directly responsible for an area, Trinidad is responsible, and there are shared areas in between. What I was dealing with is the fifth schedule, which is clear that Tobago has direct responsibility for those areas. And what I said is, regardless of having responsibility, there must still be some level of collaboration and negotiations in order to get what you want if you're really considering you're working on behalf of the people of Tobago. Because in anything you're going to, there must be negotiations, there must be compromises. You know, it cannot be my way or the highway all the time, else you will lose the opportunities of that negotiation that could benefit the people of Tobago. And so, again, I mentioned that the fifth schedule is what Tobago is directly responsible for. The other areas, yes, they must be a formal collaboration MOU for whatever is operating in Tobago. But across the board, you must have consistent conversation. So take, for instance, when they sent home, when they canceled the sitting because according to them there was no clerk in the house. Come on, you don't cancel a sitting. Again, it sends a message that the administration is not aware or does not understand the significance of the legislature and what that action did to cancel a sitting.
And there's this
Because, of
organization,
course,
Pastor Smith, is Watson Duke still a factor in Tobago following the Kaiser Jackson controversy?
I cannot speak to Watson Duke factors in Tobago because I don't know if Watson Duke still has a party functioning in Tobago or whether his party functions only in Trinidad. Yeah?
But the PDP is what got Mr. Augustine and his colleagues into the THA. At that time, closely associated with Mr. Duke. So do you think Duke's PDP is still a factor in Tobago?
Well, that is left to be seen. Yes? I can't speak on that at this time. And maybe it's because you're not hearing much about it resonating in Tobago, but I really cannot give much on that.
Let me put you on the spot, not hoping to drag you into controversy, and I hope he doesn't say mind your damn business. If you could advise Father Augustine, what would you advise him at this point?
He needs to practice temperance. He needs to grow up. You know, the petulant behavior that is being displayed is not what we want in public office. Sit down and begin having conversations with people. Become an adult in the role and have conversations with people across the board. Any leader in any country has to sit down and have negotiations with other leaders. Why do we think we alone have the information and cannot and should not speak and have conversations with other people and have negotiations with them?
But we seem to have a
Negotiations
maximum
must
leadership.
happen. Sorry?
We've seemed to have a maximum leadership mindset in this country for a while. And when you get to power, people vote you in. You feel, there's nobody, people vote me in.
And that has to stop. And that's what I call the old way of politics. That has to stop. It's time for a new type of leadership to emerge such that representation, we understand what representation means on the ground and representation in the office. Okay? You have to negotiate, collaborate, sometimes even compromise. Compromise such that at the end of the day, your the interest of the people of Tobago will be served inside of that compromise. It might be your ego why you didn't want to compromise, but you have to put aside your personal ego and do it on behalf of the people, because it's the people voted you there, not just your family, not just your party. The people of Tobago voted you there.
Dr. Sawyer Fadangas, thank you for being with us this morning. We appreciate your time and your contribution.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All the best. You have a good one. All right, let's get into our 8 o'clock news brief. This evening.